There is this prevailing thought that the reason we humans have been so successful is because we are aggressive and violent by nature. We've hunted big game, taken over habitats all across the planet, exploited natural resources until the very air we breathe is poisonous. It's easy to think that our history has been defined by this. But recently, scientists have begun to question if this is actually true. New evidence suggests that our ancestors weren't this way at all. In fact, they were pretty chill. Let me explain. The sun blazed over a sea of golden savanna grass, and the air trembled with heat. A band of Australopithecus afferences moved in tense silence, every step cautious, their knuckles brushing the dry earth for balance. At the group's center, a heavily pregnant female stumbled, gripping a branch as a makeshift crutch. The others flanked her protectively, ears twitching at every rustle. Today was not a day of foraging or hunting, it was a day of survival. Birth was coming. A sharp cry escaped her throat, and the group froze. The leader, a scarred male, snapped his head, scanning the grassland. Vultures circled far in the sky, something had already died nearby. He gestured with a guttural bark, and the group veered toward a dry riverbed dotted with shade trees. They needed shelter, and quickly. The female collapsed near a cluster of boulders. The others fanned out, gathering broad leaves and sticks, scraping shallow impressions in the soil for bedding. A younger female chewed bitter leaves, crushing them into a paste to soothe pain. The birth began in grunts and low moans, her breath ragged, her eyes wide with fear. Suddenly, a guttural roar shattered the tension. From the tall grass, a saber-toothed cat slinked forward, golden eyes fixed on the vulnerable group. Panic erupted screeches, chest beating, and stone tools raised high. The leader hurled a fist-sized rock, another male snapped a branch in two, brandishing the jagged ends like a spear. The predators snarled, circling, testing their courage. The band closed ranks around the female. They didn't run. They couldn't. A newborn's cry could come any moment, and abandoning her meant certain death. The saber-tooth lunged and chaos erupted rocks, and sticks rained down. A stone axe glanced off its flank. The beast recoiled with a furious roar and slinked back into the grass, tail twitching. For a heartbeat, the savanna fell silent. Then a sharp, shrill cry pierced the air, not from danger this time, but life. A tiny infant, slick and trembling, was pulled into the waiting arms of its mother. Relief swept through the band. Soft chirps and gentle touches replaced their battle cries. The mother clutched her baby close, eyes wide but shining. But the peace didn't last. From beyond the riverbed came the sound of answering calls, deep, echoing hoots. Another band of Australopithecus was approaching. Rivalry over water holes and feeding grounds was common, and today they were vulnerable. The leader barked low commands. They couldn't fight another tribe, not with a newborn and an exhausted mother. The males hoisted sharpened sticks, forming a loose perimeter, while the others grabbed what they could, bundles of wild figs, gathered roots, and their single precious stone axe. With the rival band closing in, they slipped into the dry riverbed, moving quickly but quietly, stepping in each other's footprints to leave fewer tracks. The infant whimpered softly. The mother nuzzled it, trying to keep it silent. Every sound could betray them. Ahead, the smell of water hit their nostrils. A narrow, muddy pool glistened between cracked rocks. They hurried forward, scooping water with folded leaves, sharing cautious sips. The baby's lips touched water for the first time, its tiny hands gripping its mother's fur. Then the sky darkened. Storm rolled in fast, wind bending the grass flat, thunder cracking overhead. Rain slammed down, turning the riverbed to slippery mud. The group huddled beneath a leaning tree, clutching each other for warmth. Lightning split the horizon, and in the distance, a lion's roar echoed. The leader moved quickly, barking orders. They gathered thorny branches to build a barrier around themselves, their hands raw from stripping bark. The newborn was swaddled in dry leaves, pressed against its mother's chest. Every flash of lightning lit up their wide, fearful eyes. Night fell heavy, but the storm masked their scent. Predators prowled unseen, their glowing eyes flickering at the edge of vision. Yet the barrier held, and the newborn slept soundly through the thunder. When dawn broke, the savanna steamed with mist, and birdsong returned cautiously. The rival tribes' calls were gone. The predators had slunk away. Exhausted but alive, the group emerged from their crude shelter. mud clinging to their fur. The leader let out a deep, rumbling call, and the band gathered close. They had survived the saber-tooth, escaped the rival band, and weathered the storm. Now they moved together, the mother walking in the center with her infant pressed to her chest. The scarred leader carried the stone axe, scanning the horizon for danger. The savannah stretched endlessly before them, golden and dangerous, but filled with promise. They would travel toward distant hills where fruit trees grew thick and caves offered safety. As they marched, the older juveniles played in the tall grass, their laughter-like calls breaking the morning silence. For a moment, even the leader's tense gaze softened. The story of this tiny life born in the shadow of fangs and storms was now part of the tribe's memory. Survival was never guaranteed, but unity was their strength. Together they vanished into the shimmering grasslands, the newborn's soft breath, a reminder that even in the harsh dawn of humanity, life found a way. I find it really interesting that these early hominins were able to stand up to some pretty large predators because they had one thing that those predators did in numbers. If you look at the fossil record, you can see that early hominins and early carnivores kept evolving alongside one another, and both groups seem to have gotten bigger and bigger. But right around the same time, there's this explosion of genus Homo. What happened? Why did these hominins suddenly get so big? Well, we don't know for sure, but scientists are starting to realize that there might have been a reason why being a member of a large social group was good for our ancestors. You see, in order to live in a group, you have to be able to cooperate, show restraint, negotiate. These are things that require language and planning. And without these things, you're just a bunch of hairless apes running around screaming into the void. But with these things, well, you become human. And maybe it was these skills that allowed our ancestors to get bigger brains, walk upright, make better tools, and thrive in more environments than any other animal. Maybe our success isn't because we're inherently aggressive, but because we're cooperative. Maybe it's because we're chill. Of course, our chill hominin ancestors didn't suddenly evolve into us. They still fought in wars with other tribes. They still competed for resources, killed animals for food, dealt with rival groups of homicidal maniacs who wanted their stuff. But evidence is mounting that aggression wasn't their default state. It was something they did when necessary, not something they did just for fun. And if you want to learn more about what else they did, like what they ate, how they buried their dead, and how they made tools, then I've got some great news for you. Thank you so much for watching and learning with us. To keep Prehistoric Planet free for everyone forever, we've launched a new initiative called Planet Partners. This is a community of supporters who give a little bit every month to support our work. You'll get exclusive perks like submitting questions to our experts, getting early access to new episodes, and more. You can find out more at our website,